Hello everyone, this is Devin once again. Today we will be going over how to combine two different sub-assemblies into one assembly. As usual, the image on screen is what the robot should look like after this video, and on screen right now is a list of timestamps. It's the same deal, please don't skip ahead unless you've watched the video already. Okay, so this is just a quick disclaimer regarding the build quality of this lift. This lift is by no means attached in a good way. I am simply doing a simple method of attachment for the purposes of showing you CAD. Okay, so as I said before, we will be combining the two sub-assemblies, the chassis and the lift, into one large assembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new assembly. You can pause now and open up a new assembly and save it as whatever you want. Okay, so I'm going to go to New, press the standard.iam and press Create. If you see this error pop up, just press OK as usual. And once you have your assembly open, head over to the save icon in the top, and I will just call this assembly robot tutorial and press save. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to place down the chassis and the lift assemblies. It's the same deal as placing down something from the part library. You just go to place in the top left, you navigate to where your assemblies are. I saved mine in my project folder, or Devin's projects in this case. Yours will be different. And then I find the assembly and simply press open. Once it appears on screen, you click as usual. It might take a while because it's a large assembly. Press escape, and then just like any normal part, we want to ground this so I can't wiggle this around. So we will right click it and then hit grounded. So now I can't wiggle this around. And then we'll go back to place, and then we will select whatever your lift is called. Mine is called the lift tutorial, and then I will press open and just place it to the side. Okay, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to place down some hardware that we will use to connect these two. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to place down two flat 90-degree gussets. They should be under structure, so please pause now and try and place down two of these. Okay, so once again we're going to place. We're going to go into the part library, structure, and there's a folder for gussets, and we want this 90-degree flat gusset. We will press open and place two down. And then I will quickly save just in case. Alright. So just as a quick disclaimer, this is by no means the only way of attaching two sub-assemblies. It'll vary widely based on your design and how you want to attach them. However, one of the similarities is you will most likely be using some sort of gusset with slots to attach your lift to your chassis, or any other subassembly to another. So don't think of this as like a you have to do it this way. This is more of a example to show you some of the little things that you will need to watch out for when using slots and gussets in particular. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to use the mate tool to mate the bottom portion of the lift to the top face of the 5 wide seat channel in the middle, because that's where we want it. You might be thinking, Devin, why aren't we just going straight to using inserts and putting the holes in the correct place? This is the thing about slots. You can't really put the holes in perfectly because they're slots. I'll explain it later, but for now, we are just going to roughly mate this in the correct position. So what I want you to do is pause right now and mate the bottom of these C channels to the top face of the 5 wide C channel. Okay, so we'll go to Constraint. We're already on mate. We'll select the top face of the 5 wide C channel, rotate the camera. We'll select the bottom portion of the lift C channel and press OK. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to make this face that I'm highlighting right now with my mouse to this face. We will make them flush because we want this to be we want the arm to be facing forward. So you can pause now and try it for yourself. Okay, so once again we're going to Constraint. We're going to select the flush solution and then select the 2 C channel faces and then press OK. I will just move this over to this area and quickly save. Okay, so now we can start with the gussets. Okay, so as you probably can guess, these two 90-degree gussets are going to make an upside down T shape on these 2 C channels, kind of in the shape that I'm making with my mouse. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to use mate again. We are not even going to touch these right now. So the first thing is you'll notice that we know that these holes have to be in line for the gussets to line up. So what we are going to do is we are simply going to mate this side of the hole with this side of the hole so this cannot wiggle around anymore. So if you want, you can pause now and try and mate them together so I can't wiggle this around. Okay, so I will go to Constraint. I will press the flush mate because these 2 faces are going to be flush. Select the faces and then press OK. I can no longer wiggle these now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to simply mate these two to the C channel and make sure to mate them so that they make that T shape that I described earlier. You can pause now and try and mate them yourself. Okay, we'll go to Constraint and I want to do a normal mate, so I will simply select the 2 faces and press apply. On the other gusset, I will actually select the other side of the face just so it rotates in a different position and press OK. Alright, so now we're ready to deal with the gussets. Okay, so here's where it's going to get slightly interesting. So there are 2 things about the gussets that you need to watch out for. One, the width of the gussets are actually smaller than the width of these holes. This will mess you up if you're trying to do things like mate. Because if I mate this face, if I flush mate these 2 faces, this face and the other face won't be flush mate. So watch out for that when working with these gussets. And 2, they're not a hole. They're actually a slot. There is a work feature in the middle that you can use to insert. However, it won't work because these 2 are not aligned in terms of holes because of this little thickness from the C channel. So basically when it comes to gussets, you kind of just have to eyeball it, honestly. So like, what I would do is literally just go to the right face and like eyeball both of the gussets just to see where the holes line up. So on the bottom, we will attach it to this bottom portion. So I'll kind of just slide this to like right here, and notice that this is close enough to aligned. So I'll stop right there, and same with this one. I'm just gonna do the same thing but mirrored, kind of just line it up, and it looks pretty good. In all honesty, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it won't be perfect. Just kind of get it close enough for now. Okay, so now we will work on actually constraining these so the gussets don't move. So if you zoom in really close, you'll notice that it looks like you could insert the outer edge of the slot with the inner hole. So that's what we are going to do. We will press Constraint, Insert, select the inside or the outer edge of the slot and the hole, and press OK. We will do the same on the other side because it's simply mirrored. We will turn around, just slightly move this, Constraint, Insert, outer edge, and the hole, and press OK. So why did I use the outer hole other than the fact that I knew it lined up? If I can insert the outer edge with the hole, it means that a screw can go through, which should make sense. If a screw can go through this hole and this hole, which is represented by our insert mate, then this should work in real life. So now we're almost done. We just need to do another insert. And because we know these are all in line, because these are still the same distance apart, we can do the same thing where we insert the edge of this with the hole and press OK. And once again, we will do it on this side to keep it from rotating. Constraint, Insert. You'll have to zoom in and fiddle around with your mouse until you get the right one. We will get the edge and the hole, and then press OK. And there we have it. We will just check, and you'll notice that these look close enough. Just if you rotate your camera, it looks like I can put a screw in there, and that's good enough for now. And if you look at this, you could definitely put a screw through that hole. Okay, so we will do one last thing, and then we will be done. So before we do the last thing I want to do, we're just going to do a little recap of how I used the gussets. So the first thing I did is I constrained it so the first subassembly and the second subassembly are constrained in such a way that it's where I want it to be. And then the second thing I do is I add the gussets and position them generally to the location I want it. And then what I had to do is I had to find something that looks like I can use an insert. Remember, I can't really use the flush mate to make sure these don't move because these two are not the same size. The reason I can use insert is because it'll center it on the hole, which is what would happen in real life, whereas the flush mate or normal mate will center it or make it relative to a flat face, meaning the other face will have an offset, and it'll be uneven, and it'll probably mess some things up. So once I eyeballed it in place and found the first insert, I know that these are a set space apart, and it's the same spacing apart as the holes. So I can just go from this edge all the way to this edge and just insert these holes together, and same thing on this. Of course, it might be different if you're using different gussets. You might actually need to do the inserts sooner, but it's still kind of a similar story. If things are if you're still having issues and you can't get things together, you can of course use your mate as like a final solution, but but again, gussets are weird and the slots are interesting to work with. Just practice, practice, and you'll get it. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to make this arm rotate. If you remember from the last video, in the assembly, you were able to rotate this arm, but for some reason now we can't. This is an easy fix. You right click, you scroll down to the flexible option, and hit it. Now, you can rotate the arm. Basically what flexible means is it means that you can basically like alter the subassembly. If it's not flexible, you won't be able to move anything around in the subassembly. And there we have it. We have our little robot complete. So thank you all for watching this tutorial series, and I hope you all have a good day and good luck CADing.